Joining us now is Professor Jonathan Dekel Chen, founder of Sagi, who was freed from Hamas captivity. Shalom.
Shalom.
First of all, please share with us how these days are for you as a father or a grandfather, the family reuniting, meeting the young baby who Sagi didn't meet until now.
Well, in a sense, you've already described it. He's home with us. He's safe. He has reunited with his beautiful wife and 3 young daughters, one of whom he's never met, or he hadn't met until the Shabbat before last. And it's joyous. In fact, I don't know a word in the English language that completely can capture the joy we are all feeling with his return. He has some recovery and rehabilitation to do. He was wounded on October 7th in Kibbutz Nir Oz, and of course thereafter nearly 500 days of malnutrition, poor, if any, medical care, horrific sanitary conditions, and the threat of death from his captors and, unfortunately, from friendly fire from Israel Defense Forces have taken their toll. But he's strong. Obviously, he's strong. He was able to survive these horrors. It's a matter of time, but he will be physically fine sooner or later.
Tell us, please, about the first moment when you finally met Sagi.
We were able to meet him about an hour, perhaps hour and a half, after that horrific propaganda ceremony that Hamas and Islamic Jihad arranged or staged, really, in Khan Yunis. We met him when he was already back in Israel. And for me, there were 2 moments that I will take with me forever. First is that, I would say, a hug of rebirth that he had with his wonderful wife Avital. And the second was me looking into his eyes from up close, not through a TV screen, and seeing that was my guy. Sagi is one of those people, since he was a little boy, he speaks with his eyes. And once I could see those eyes, I knew that was my guy, my 36-year-old son, who was going to be okay. There was work to be done, but he's going to be okay. And those are things that I dreamed of for nearly 500 days.
What could you share with us about what he's telling you, what you're asking, how you approach this delicate dialogue?
Well, we are approaching it as a process that's going to take time. He lost 500 days of his life, very intense days, knowing nothing actually about what had happened in Israel. He was in a complete information vacuum, as most of the hostages are who were held in the tunnels. So he's got an awful lot of catching up to do with the family, with our kibbutz. Kibbutz Nir Oz was ground zero for the massacre on October 7th. And the world outside in general. We, of course, are waiting to hear, perhaps, I'm not sure how much we're going to want to hear exactly, or what he's going to want to tell about the horrors that he and other hostages are forced to endure. Right now, we're focusing, to be honest, on just the joy, from minute to minute, of having him back, of seeing him, myself as a father and grandfather, seeing him with his 3 little girls, one of whom he only just met. She was born 2 months after he was taken hostage. And it's a thing of almost undescribable beauty.
And the pain and sorrow that cannot be postponed is dealing with the loss from October 7th and the murdered hostages who are returning.
Yeah, well, he will know, for example, I imagine he will know that on Tuesday we will be attending the funeral of Oded Lifshitz, a great-grandfather murdered by Hamas in captivity. He was taken alive from Nir Oz, and the young Bibas family, Shiri, Ariel, and Kfir, who were murdered within days, perhaps weeks, of being taken captive, and their bodies were only returned yesterday. These are people who are, really woven into the fabric of our lives on a kibbutz, small community. And Shiri has been his friend for, she's a year or 2 younger than Sagi, but has been his friend forever. Oded Lifshitz has been my friend and fellow kibbutz member for 45. So all of these things are happening simultaneously. From the best of our knowledge, there will be two more murdered members of our kibbutz being returned in the next couple of days as part of this first stage of the agreement with Satan, for sure, Hamas, but we will be receiving two more bodies of kibbutz people that are currently being held by Hamas.
Now you, Jonathan, are out there on the global arena. You worked with the Biden administration and now with the Trump administration. What can you tell us about the process?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a father of a hostage, so there's only so much I will be able to tell you. But this deal that we're coming really to the end of stage one, has been on the table at least since the end of May, announced by President Biden, but developed together with Prime Minister Netanyahu. History will judge why it has taken so long to get to where we are right now. There is absolutely no question that the election of Donald Trump changed everything in terms of not the framework of the agreement. It's almost identical to what was agreed upon between our Prime Minister and President Biden many months ago, but the force and the energy and the insistence that the Trump team has applied since shortly after his election has made all the difference. And I suspect that moving into stage two or extending stage one, which is something that's come up recently, is also going to be a product of significant pressure from the Trump team on all sides. Obviously, mostly on Hamas, but also on Israel's hesitant government and the intermediaries as well. And I have faith, given their level of commitment, which has been totally consistent since just after the election, that we will get there, and that the healing of Israeli society, all of it, can begin once all of the hostages are home.
Professor Jonathan Dekel Chen, father of Sagi, who was freed from Hamas captivity. Regards to Sagi, and thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.